ukuthi ngabe indebe yabomake yona ime kanjani njalo kusiyade ukuthi seyicalile lapho sibone khona ama scores lamakhulu lesi sibese sigcine swabitha nokuthi ama cricket scoring ngendlela la kaba makhulu ngayo ngoba asikawatele kakhulu la ebholeni kepha ke siyabona lapha kuyo i-women's football elibuyile after almost 2 years solo ihleli without any action sabe siyibona ke ukuthi ngabe kuhambe kanjani khona over the past weekend kepha ke hlelweni namuhla ngihleli naye Linda Master Dlamini njengenjwayelo lesitabe break down nayo ama games ethu ukuthi ngabe ngeweekend atawumisa kanjani who's winning and I remember ukuthi kusasena leso streak sakhe Linda Master lekuthi ngabe bani utawuphelelaphi kuyo isizini we're gonna touch base on that as well and of course we're gonna make reference to what happened over the past weekend lapho khona kwaba khona imidlalo lonemagoli kwaba khona khuluma lokuthide kwaba nekulwa 2 weeks in a row kuba nemsindo kwaneligoli ekuthiwa hey offside yini bake balithinta ke bo master kuchaza ukuthi mhlawumbe vele belingasiyo offside kepha ngakahambi kakhulu angivusele yena Linda Master Dlamini engimukele ehlelweni
ngiyabonga phathizo ukumukela ehlelweni ngitithuba lokukhulu ngivusele wena ma-loyal viewers ekhaya
yeah. It's another Master Thursday lapho khona sitawubuka ukuthi over the weekend kutabe kwendekani kahle kahle njalo kuyade ukuthi Premier League ladies first division everyone ibhola ibusy full force iyadlala to the point yokuthi even if you go to the regions nyalo so yakhanza ma Stokvel sekayadlala because ulumende ugcina avumele I understand na Eswatini TV bekadlala the past weekend yadlala nechumana
yeah for the first time in 3 years or in 4 years Eswatini TV win a game
hayi ke kani ngithi utakahle kani
uyahema iphela into lenhle vele into le iswinile 4-2 5-3
yeah 5-3
but nje phathizo vele ibhola ibuyile njoba usho ithi evening margins ema teams aqalile labanye basafuna abadlali basazama recruiter siyathi ukuthi for a very long time solo bemile first division nayo buyile wabuya the other weekend the past weekend ibhola yabomake nayo ngicabanga ukuthi interesting kakhulu
but before sigene ku ibhola yabomake Master I want to touch base on because now we touch on development kusinayo ibuyile ema 17 atabadlala kusukela mhla ka 3 December atabasele sotho odlala kuma region 5 khona lesingagatha la ko considering kusibe kude ama activities for the past 2 years
ay kulukhuni man but sethemba ukuthi incumbi yalamave bekanga siku active but kulukhuni kakhulu because nawubuka ukuthi esikhatsini lesiningi bese isikhethe kuma games imidlalo esetikolweni imidlalo mhlambe ama under 17 yesibayeni lodge league yes but akabi ke khona lokho imidlalo last year asizanga sabana imidlalo yetikolo so ngicabanga ukuthi kulukhuni kakhulu for a 16 year old 17 year old ukuthi ahlale angajimi bese soyahamba uyodlala i-tournament maybe ajime 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the tournament ahamba udlala i-tournament kulukhuni kakhulu but nginayo le belief because babenaso lesikhathi banike isikhathi
bahle labona inyanga siloba lapho
solo basecampaign
I'll give credit to Football Association for that
exactly ngihlale ngusho ukuthi nakuneboholo lobusha kutsinga sibone phela bukhona ke pholo lobusha ingene early i team campaign yadlala and incumbela abadlali yababona le campaign ngicabanga ukuthi i confidence setulu kakhulu le ngicabanga ukuthi njoba usho ukuthi siyinikeni credit
the big issue I want to give credit to EFA but at the same time I'm not happy we have 2 coaches head coach and assistant coach but coaching my Premier League teams who are most likely not to be available for lama games langa aninakuza lokho kutasiphaza kanjani ukuthi Edwin Mathebula he'll be engaged go Africa ne Royal Leopard Sabelo Mnisi long assistant coach wakhe kuma under 17 utaba busy nge Young Buffaloes they are chasing the league ba ku wrong standing ku log why must akunikete umsebenzi bamflaba nemsebenzi
anthi ke phathizo ngile ngikusho ukuthi uma ngena pholo lobusha ngicabanga ukuthi bekungeke beze because i contract yaba siyathi beyine isikhathi lesinganani bengeke ethi luholo ukuthi bufika bebususa bonke labo coach ngithi
if it doesn't make sense
terminate the contract
it doesn't make sense
ilos
yeah but still
dawubhadala to
we're losing already because batabe bangekho for the COSAFA games.
But ke lokahle ngedevelopment ukuthi idevelopment kahle kahle ithi lena cause ya Football Association idevelopment ukhuluma ngama 23 ukhuluma ngama 20 ukhuluma ngama 17 kuya pass lelo litiko la technical director litiko la development coach lokungu Friday babambisene naye TD lengicabanga ukuthi tonke leti involved bathi befika nje labo coach babe banikiwe ngekwati kwami babe banikiwe ukuthi le team kahle kahle siyifuna idlale kanje labadlali sibafunako la kuma 17 la kuma 15 nala kuma 13 badlale kumele ukuthi badlale kanje laba nje bahamba bohlala ebenchini ngalo siba trainise le team bayidrill le team otherwise le project yaka angisho ukuthi correct. I'm not saying ku right but ku wrong lokuthi bo coach bethu ngenteka bangabi khona bobabili kodwa indvo lethu lekungamele ukuthi kube inkinga because vele once coach wakhanza structure sikahle uyathi yena ukuthi nangifakele program nami nje nangabe sihlangabetana na TD ngimnikile program ukuthi i-team i-trainer kanje na TD asho ukuthi okay nje kuba kucaba ngithi le program yakho isahamba ngalendlela but awujimisa labakhona ihamba i-team i-compete but otherwise wona akusinvo lenhle.
Yeah, Master Party, is it something lokumele ukuthi mina I do feel ukuthi it's something lokumele basheshe bayilungisa because nyalo siya ku ma under 20. I think the last time I checked beka coach ngu Nur under 20 lo ukuthi Tinyos nathi tabe basic league sitabe basic COSAF tasasakhatha ukubamba kala. And another question I have for you ukuthi labadlali bababuka nini ngamaplana abo basuke badlalisa the same weekend.
Njoba ngisho nje phathisa ukuthi but sector angathi lo sector bangathi ngakhuza le office la ka technical director kani ngilo kahle kahle libuka konke nawukhuluma ngedevelopment
bangakhokhosha labethu umsebenzi la ngaphandle
but ke lenye inkinga lekhona phathizo ukuthi bancane bokhoshi labathanza idevelopment bayithanza ngemlomo nawe usiyaqala uyonika coach ukuthi acoache ema under 13 ema under 15 ukubuka uthi ngathi uyamkhobosa uyabona kanzi vele ngilapho itolo besikhuluma na mabhalano wabo inhlangano yabo coach washo wathi incumbi yalabo coach bayabalekela lo msebenzi wecoacha lephasi angati leni so utamthasa ke lo
kodwa imali
phathizo i-coaching la kithi man lokuchazela once wa understand ukuthi la kithi i-coaching akusimali i-calling then uta understand ukuthi awukayeli lapha kuNakhuza ngihlale ngitshela wena mina ngihlale ngitshela wena ukuthi iNakhuza le academy lapha ePrince of Wales ayingifakele ngisho senti ayibafakele ngisho senti labanye bo director uyabona but ngiyathi mina ukuthi nangabe ngesikhathi sami lesinakhuza kumele ngisukele la ngihlala khona ngihambe ngiyojimisa labantu bala because ngifuna ini i-develop ibhola.
Lalela master ngeke ngisuke eMahwalala ngitela town nge-calling ngidinga imali yokuthela imoto ngidinga imali yokudla mangiseta lana ngeke ngidli calling so ngithi mina I understand ngwa club level ukuthi bantu bangathi bayabaleka but national team level we shouldn't have those issues ukuthi bayibalekele Premier League i-coaching yama juniors kepha imali enough because it's Buthi uyibhola udlala ngekholi umsebenzi ngekholi
sakuthi okay sakuthi sesigcile kakhulu kule mali utamthatha man Phathizo utamthatha coach uthi akayocoacha ema 13 nema 15 umbone kuphi lokuthi ugood development because labo coach kumele ukuthi baqale bat engage kule ama development structures ekuqala babonakala ukuthi manga ama development structures la khona la kithi
labo coach labakhona babone development labo bahirishile nyalo
usho sibabonile ba promote ema youngsters ku first team.
Look at the teams esikhuluma ngawo ukuthi ngimaphi ama team la asenza badlala abanganani. Look at Tinyos, look at young Buffaloes.
You mean to tell me Tinyos ukuthi umdlalo nona 17
oh makamunye it counts okay asiqhubeke nehlelo mbuke. This is a topic for another day. Le nayo itawudinga more time, more research and all that. Yes, Buffaloes inabo by development players like our sebenzako Sabelo. I'll give credit to that. But we came in very nicely. Actually, as a matter of fact, development here young Buffaloes is doing very well. Not in a team, but development. So you look at the person, look at lapha kuyo development good went down. And under 17 league bekadlala active. Go look at the coaches kuthi bendana ubuye ubane kuthi bendebo assistant for a year baqhubeke bathathe over kulabanye masebe uva ngazuthi seba right. But what's happening right now, I personally feel it's very wrong ukuthi a Premier League coach development team kepha ngalana uhladlalisa ngalana kumele abuya coach abantwana uyadlalisa the balance nyalo siku crisis ukuthi ku region 5 ngenteke kuhanjwe qhudwa ngoma ke malungiselelo sekavela aqalile yaphathamiseka because bocoach ngama weekend abasabi khona ngisho ngaba bafuna ukudlala ema friendly. Enough with that, I've said a lot already. Siyaqhubeka nalo hlelo mbuke lapho khona sesitawubuka khona ukuthi ngabe i-fixture yayo i-women football league ihamba kanjani. There is a rather master score esingaka style 25 not ebholeni shaya ngiyo i-Young Buffaloes.
Ibholebo manje basilo ukuthi isayidlala ama games Young Buffaloes ishaya iLovo nga 25-0 yes 25-0 ngicabanga ukuthi isikole iLovo ngicabanga sinabantu achanga 25-0 yes iBuffaloes ngihlala ngisho ukuthi as a team kuyadzinga ukuthi ubonakala lo so sendlala together wena so ngumkantsha ubovu kule field yakho khombisa ke lamanye ama teams la sahlanganisa wona ufike washaya ngicabanga ukuthi iLovo kusadzinga ukuthi nayo iti asabake batinike isikhathi babajimise labo sis because kushaya 25-0 esagcina ukubona iSundowns leyo
shaya power lines
power line league Nedbank Cup and coach wakhona lapho Niskins ngaleso sikhathi wakwata kakhulu phela ukuthi 24-0 ningashaya amagoli angaka that's one professional ubulala spirits alolo umdlalo because uthi kusasa kangabuyi lo mvegemini namshaya 25-0
imagine the goalkeeper
uyabona ufeel embarrassed because uthi kusho ngathi lutho nakula ungena 25 amagoli but nje ngicabanga ukuthi
but in a couple ladies imshayile
11 ashayala amagoli
I think the cricket score satayibona master considering ukuthi incumbela abantu vele labanye badlali bebomaka bebangasiko active sanhlobo
but bese sekushiyelana lothi because iBuffalo ngicabanga ukuthi beyihle iWonders nje beyikhosafa eSouth Africa yakhona ukuthola lesikhathi sekujima ngicabanga ukuthi lawo magrushanyana because bekungakathiwa abantu abangajimi lokuba disorganizing elo sikhuluma ngawo ukuthi wena uyethuka kanune team wethuka ukuthi sebasivumele asicaleni siyojima ushayela abadlali ukuphi uyabuya nabahlanganisa it's wrong ngicabanga ukuthi mina lokujima ezema group bo 3 bo 4 bo 3 bo 4 bekungabasita lama teams ukuthi babe physically bakhona ukuthi bakumaintain kancane but labholeni mhlambe bebataba nato inkinga but physically bebataba bangcono
iWonders master they lost almost 16 players. But the Divas the weekend 5-0 their first game because the first game they couldn't play bebanga register enough players because they lost a lot of players they resigned, let me just put it like that. We saw them training with another team trying their luck. We do not know ukuthi babasainile or what, but they resigned at Manzinandras almost 16. But it's impressive ukuthi they were able to reorganize bahlanganisa team babe badlala second week.
Ngicabanga ukuthi i-result leyo phathizo angathi lo sike kufike kanjani kimi every week sikhulume ngetinkinga temanzini Wanderers every week sikhulume ngetinkinga temanzini Wanderers nayo kuyalo sikhuluma ukuthi about 15 players abomake ba resignile kule team leni na ungathi uyalandzelisisa kahle utawuthola ukuthi laba bamvu sebahleli isikhathi bangakuthola loncane uyabona
badlala ngekholini
phathizo ngikhuluma mina ngibadlali a player and a coach sakubeka nje kuhluke letinvo lethu utawuthola ukuthi coach incumbi yabo banemisebenzi incumbi yabo lalaba coachako
position
incumbi yabo bese sothi labadlali labamva bebanga because badlalela i-team le basayine nayo i-contract pass because bocoach incumbi basayine badlali bede ma contract but labadlali bangena lapha kuthi usayine 2 years but le mali la isayinile lapha akayitholi ngicabanga ukuthi kudzinga ukuthi le licembu lemanzini Wanderers li decide lo say in fact besathi ukuthi manzini Wanderers ladies
they are the defending champions as a matter of fact
I team le strong like league uyabona but naku bacale bashaya ngiyo i-Divas
because
lekumele ukuthi against bo Buffaloes against bo Kapa ladies bawenyusela amasokisi.
Yeah, ilangeni win 2-0 yona yashaya Happy Girls kwathi iGreen Mamba number 1 solos badlala draw ya 0-0 just to complete my results are over the past weekend. But now they are going into another weekend lapho khona most of the games will be played on Saturday. So we're just going to take a quick look at the fixture kubuka ukuthi ngabe khona kutawube kume kanjani. An interesting game and yes of course Kapa Ladies versus Young Buffaloes.
Yeah.
Young Buffaloes from scoring 25 goals. Kapa Ladies from scoring 11 and Kapa Ladies is one of the modest teams I think in the ladies team because ngikhumbula kusenabo Mchachas from way back Kapa Ladies.
No, beveli Kapa Ladies team one of my teams lamatsala.
Yeah.
Yes.
They'll be playing Buffaloes.
Now tell hlanganisa amagoli alama teams lang 2 ang 36 laba washayile the two teams and iBuffaloes ayika concede iKapa Ladies concede elinye so ngicaba ukuthi kudibene ema teams la korako la kore magoli kakhulu but again lenye iRoses yalenta seshiselweni yodlala neMazin Wanderers
because le game le Kapa Ladies ne Young Buffaloes it's equivalent to right now because Mazin Wanderers for obvious reasons. I'll say Kapa Ladies it's one and Young Buffaloes it's one game to watch master more like you'll want to watch Babane Swallows and Babane Highlanders.
Yeah.
These two teams master. Adlala Sunday nga 3 a technical sense. Skaten more goals from both sides or one will dominate.
Ngicaba ukuthi nawubuka for the past 5 seasons ibhola yabo maki idlala Young Buffaloes bese compete neMazin Wanderers.
Yeah, iLeopard behlise
iLeopard behle ithi kancane. Lengicaba ukuthi iYoung Buffaloes ikhonile ukuthi maintain labadlali babo oceliwe kule squad. So ngicaba ukuthi itaba nayo le upper hand kancane ku Kapa Ladies but I'm happy ukuthi Kapa Ladies confidence settle because bamkorile 11 goals.
Yeah.
But nayo iYoung Buffaloes
double
bawalambele.
Yeah, we look at the rest of my fixture lapha ukuthi ngabe lamanye imidlalo itawube itholana kanjani khona lapha eNakhuzeni khona lapha technical center because all the games adlala khona technical center is ground A and B master so ngicabanga kuba khona technical center kuyawasita lamathimba ukuthi
I was hoping Phathizwe ngingakujubeli lwimi I was hoping ukuthi ngesikhathi last year nakurenovatewa i-technical center lama ground abomake ngiyacela ukuthi ngiyathi njengoba ngishilo ngase kunebuholi lobusha lama ground lalapha technical center because vele sekuyeli asasenjediselwa ibhola yabo maki asekake anakwe abe cishe ku standard bathi nje ukuthi no leli nakhuza leli liyanakwa kahle lonke bathi osibadlala nalabo maki badlale uyathi ukuthi nawudlalela egroundini leli kahle leli clean nawe lokuthetsemba kuba setulu kakhulu.
True master. Roses versus Mazin Wanderers.
Yeah.
Can Wanderers come back by winning their first game?
iRoses bekumele idlale neLeopard kule game kule weekend lephelile yangakhona ukuthi idlale lengicabanga ukuthi iRoses last year team lesayibona ukuthi nayo beyinato letinkinga because team lesuka eshiselweni lengicabanga ukuthi lokutravelisha because labanye ke abalimata traveler lokutravelisha but ngicabanga ukuthi this season batawubuya balungisile Mazin Wanderers njengoba beseshilo ukuthi tinkinga tabo cishe 15 players labahambile kule team asade but le ngiva ngathi iRoses kumele ukuthi iwin.
Yeah, okay. Green Mamba nayo it's still quite a new team.
Yeah.
But
sayina 4 iminyaka nangikhumbula kahle. Yeah. Nangikhumbula kahle nasicala kuyi cover prison basayihlanganisa. That was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So nabo.
But ayabadlala
Ilovo le
cause 25 goals.
Yeah.
So first win for Green Mamba.
If ungahluleka kuwina against team le consider
well, will be second win.
If ungahluleka kuwina against team le consider 25 amagoli u deserve a relegate.
Siqhubeke nawe mafix mbukeli. If you cannot win against a team like consider magola ngakasaqhubeka nawe sibuka ukuthi ngabe amanye ama games atawutholana kanjani ayo nalena midlalo yayo bomake eletabe iqhubeka over the coming weekend elangeni versus Babane Swallows master.
Hey, what happened to Mbabane Swallows? Because Mbabane Swallows, I still remember le team naisa sungulwa washo even na president wayo women football ukuthi yathiwa naisa sungulwa beba na Khathalala Aaron Mavimbela. Back in the days ma teams abomake ngakhumbula beka 6 or 8 nang ingqondo yami nayisakhumbula kahle. But nawibuka lena kuza iyehla kancane
Iswallows
kancane le Swallows team yabo makiyehla kancane. I don't know why bayodlala ngeweekend lengicaba ukuthi elangene one of my teams lengithini wanika isikhathi yes team yakhe chairman wayo women football, but with time I believe kukhona ama results labatawathola and batawcompete.
We do hope ukuthi kutaba ngomdlalo lomuhle nawo lona njalo kusibuka yona i-interladies lomele ukuthi ngabe yodlala nayo i-Royal Leopard kulempela Sompo Master. Royal Leopard another one lewe ngasho ukuthi bekazama kungena emkhathini wayo i-Leopard nayo emkhathini we-Buffaloes nayo i-Manzini Wanderers over the past few seasons. They have very good players, even the national under-20 coach. Part of that team.
He used to be a star in that team. Yena Simpiwe Smelane ngalele foot yakhe. Yay, what a player. What a player she was, because
akasafani
so
uzongenela i-coaching nakuye sekuyamtshela ukuthi hayi phela
sithi Swati goba msenge udliwe timbuti, but ngicabanga ukuthi nabo over the years ngicabanga for the past 2 or 3 seasons kukhona mhlambe labalahleke khona lekudzinga ukuthi babuyele kuma basics, babuyele bafune labadlali bebafuna noma le commitment kule team njengale ndlela besiyadingayo i-Royal Leopard kubomake.
And sithemba ukuthi buya kube ma games, because the more competition the better, because uyabona ukuthi lapho sekuyaqala kunyusa lelizinga la lebhola starts maskipha sona sithebe siyosimelela ngephandle kube nemiphumela lemihle. And last game elesitayithenza kuyo singakachubekele kuyo ePremier League sizabuka yena ukuthi kutabe kudlala umdlalo wekugcina lesisubukako lapha ekhona lapha eNakhuzeni Master. My producer ngathi ukuthi sekwenteka nibekelweni and Happy Girls. Master, what can you say?
Na imbekelweni ngicabanga ukuthi nawuthi yabuka ubuka yona imbekelweni inkulu lendzawo and bayithanza ibhola bosisi bakhona embekelweni because basonzele ngala bo lutse yonke lendzawo leso ngicabanga ukuthi nayo I'm yet to watch them this season, but with what I saw last season ngicabanga ukuthi they are on the right track. Angeke bese sesiba harsh kakhulu because Patizwe ngeke sikubalekele ukuthi ema teams abomake ibhola bayidlala ngoba labanye bayithanza incumbi yabo bacala bente imisebenzi emakhaya. Ngeke sikubalekele lokho, bacala bente imisebenzi emakhaya and kusengafiki kahle tingcondweni tebamvu ukuthi angahamba nje umve ekhaya ngabo 9 ekseni imvombatana isiyodlala kanzi nangabe umfana uyahamba nga 9 ekseni akahambi ngani lo sisi na hamba uyodlala.
True. Happy Girls, I'll say the progress they are making, Master, is looking at the way they started. I think, and looking at the region, because Bakambalinda Singapore scope and all let's outlet, it's quite an achievement for them to be available, and it was good for them because I do remember I think they had a partnership with the Kellys. So I think kwaba setanabo lebe ngifuna ukuthi ugcine ngako Master phela ukuthi let's say all the teams, who are the Mbabane Highlanders ladies, who are Denver Sundowns ladies, lama team la Premier League baphi bosisi
wasuthinza i-Denver Sundowns i-team ya chairman kanti ithi i-club licensing kumele ukuthi kube ne-team yabomake, kumele kube nabo CEO, kumele kube nabo coach nabo assistant. Siyadzinga ngicabanga ukuthi ngakuveta even about 3 weeks ago ukuthi if uyayi lead by example. Your team kudzinga ukuthi ibe nato tonke letinto leti ema ladies team siyadzinga kuyibona kuze improve i-national team akusezosihlanga kuphela, even nesithebe i-national team. So kuze improve le national team asiwabona phela nalabo make nakhona kungabi nje just the senior teams kuphela abawakhe ne-development yabo make siwabona ama-under 17 ama-under 20. Yes, ulukhulu kakhulu ngeke ngasho ngathi ukhokha imali ekhikhini urane ema teams lang 4 noma lang 5 ngikhuluma nge senior team yabo babe ngikhulume ngema 20 ngikhulume futhi nge senior team yabo make nema 20 yakho ulukhuni kakhulu.
But the good thing is, Master, angathi ukuthi sifunze kangakho over the past few months or years sibuka online, more especially maqala COVID, ukuthi FIFA has availed so much funds for women football, almost equal to what he availed for men's football. Because I do remember about 500,000 for ladies football. So I think FA nalapho kumele itibuke back ukuthi are we doing enough ngaleko lesikuthola.
But ke le women nakhuza le ngicabanga ukuthi le wing yaka women parties before sithi because now angeke nje mina uzunginike ngithi ngihlabela ingoma ngithi icon project lengifuna kuyenda ngingakulethele project lapha singisi le project lengifuna kuyenda 9 it's A B C D kube clear ngeke uthi ayikhokha le mali onginikede. But if kungasi clear ngikhuluma nje ngomlomo ngithi le project lengifuna kuyenda itsengana imali engaka ngicabanga sengeke unginike le mali.
Yeah, and the FA kumele kusho ukuthi iwa enforce lawo ma projects kuyisho ukuthi because FIFA uyawafuna and FIFA ukhuluma na FA akakhulumi ne wing ya FA. Sithatha kefu mbukeli masibuya ekhefini sitabe sikhulumisana sitabe sikhulumisa indzaba yayo ePremier League kubuka ukuthi ngabe ama fixture khona ahamba kanjani over the weekend lala itako.
Get ready for the biggest talent search in the land. Spotlight's Buyanga Mawazawaza, and this year we are amping everything up. They had traveled from far and wide for an opportunity to take their passion to the next level. They put their all into it and emerged as victors. Now it's time for you to amp up your voice. Submit your 1-minute video audition to www.yellowhub.co.sz/the spotlight/apply, and you could win yourself a brand new Datsun Go, a record deal, and many more exciting prizes. Follow the Spotlight by MTN social media pages for more information. Amp it up.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Pay your TV license quickly and easily with MTN Momo. Simply dial *007 *3# and select option 8 for TV license. Enter your national ID number as your reference and the amount you wish to pay. Then enter your PIN to confirm your payment. Once your payment has been made, you will receive a confirmation SMS of your payment. If you're a first-time payer, you get another SMS for your TV license. So legalize your entertainment from the comfort of your home. Pay your TV license the easy and convenient way with MTN Momo.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
The MTN Premier League will continue this weekend lapho khona kutabe sekungena kuyo game 3 lapho khona sitabe sekubuka ukuthi ngabe ama games adlala kanjani. Kunemidlalo ke lemkhulu master le singathi sitayijakela kuyibuka over the coming weekend lapho khona imicembu la njengabo Mbabana Islanders le coach wayo under pressure will be playing for Highlanders. On the other hand is playing Rangers. We're going to take a look at the fixture over the weekend ukuthi ngabe khona kume kanjani ema games akhona adlala kanjani. First game lesaqala sikhulume ngayo eManzini Sipets will be playing iThambuti. On fire Sipets, on fire Mthokozisi.
Yeah.
Versus Thambuti.
King's Opposer Stadium in their happy hunting ground. Sipets ngicabanga ukuthi against iThambuti sivile ukuthi iThambuti it's sorry Thambuti
it's Thambuti. What's confusing?
Okay.
What's confusing?
No. Sorry. Go. It's Thambuti, yes.
Yeah.
Coach wakhona Nyama uresignile. Uhambile kule team iThambuti FC.
It doesn't have the papers. It's not like it.
But lokho kutabane not unless parties lo move labatamlanza labatam announcer before weekend.
Lomwe singabe announce today.
Le kumele ngabe bam announce today. Bakhona ukusebenzisana naye inyama. Bamlanza inyama bathi sicela ubuye sitosebenza.
Kungenasimo.
Uyabona because coach angathi ke thina la kithi ukuthi kwangenani sifosini kulabo coach. abafuni kusebenzisana. In fact lesihlava ngiyosisho ngalinye ilanga that's a topic for another day ukuthi why bo coach bangevani. Ngiyawukusho lokho ngikucale phasi futhi ukuthi kubangwa yini kusuka kuphi kuyaphi but angikho lapho ngikhuluma ngenzaba iThambuthe FC neSibets. iSibets they are on fire.
Why iSibets even my favorite of this? Why are they performing like this in the labor when the right?
Ngicaba ukuthi kufika kwakhe Christian Twala ufike athasa kuyigcina last season sikhumbula ukuthi igcina.
Yeah, who did well naye?
First 10 games he did very well. I feel like mhlambe ibona ama players eSibets nakunemcicisho ngathi bangahlala baletha every after 10 games.
Bakho refresh laba.
Yeah, but ngicabanga ukuthi kukhona la kushinjile na Christian Twala, a very humble coach. Longathi ngene tindzaba te politics tabo coach. Yes, vele sidinga lokhu kulabo coach labakhona nyalo bangathi ngene indzaba tabo politics banake lo msebenzi bende lo msebenzi ba dedicate kulo msebenzi wenda lokhu Christian Twala ema results uyawathola.
Khona phansi inhlangano Mbabane Swallows versus Vovovo Enini versus Caleb. Another game a must watch.
Yeah, it's a must watch, a very difficult game for both teams.
Okay.
But pressure Mbabane Swallows because they are yet to score a goal against the team ya Caleb. Team ya Caleb akusekulula ukora against yona ukuthola igoli. So ngicaba ukuthi itaba likhulu kakhulu le game le for njoba ngisho for Mbabane Swallows iVovovo nge weekend beyilida 3-1 bayikhanza kwaba nge 3-3 against Tinyosi.
So that should be encouraging for Mbabane Swallows.
Ngibengitya lapho ukuthi kumele lokho kuyinike ema point inakuza Mbabane Swallows ukuthi we can score against Vovo because bebaleda 3-1 behluleka ku maintainer behluleka kusibamba lengicabanga sinaye Caleb usaka kancane usazama lo silithini
for the right combinations because now in the last 2 weeks I think
exactly kule team because vele utam question a coach if utawuthola 3-1 lead ahluleke ku maintain but for Mbabane Swallows ngicaba ukuthi balidzinga that one goal letawu breaker yonke le level.
Look at this Mbabane Swallows team. Look at the personnel, look at the players right there. This is their game against Green Mamba laba lose 1-0. You're looking at the quality for both teams and you're saying wow, Swallows should be winning this game 3-0 3-1. What's wrong? What's happening with Mbabane Swallows?
Ngicabanga ukuthi they are trying to mix style of play. That's one. Nangikhuluma ngaloko iMbabane Swallows siyathi ukuthi beyidila kakhulu
but master I'm looking at this. Look at this ngendlela abadefenda ngayo.
In fact inakhuza style of play bese ses affecta yonke times igcina kakhulu lebhola. Now tshena kanje kule clip prior before le goal kuna Popu kuna Felix kuna ngiyamkhohlwa lo muntu yes le bhola abafuna kakhulu lama movements alabadlali ngicabanga ukuthi kuyaba limita kakhulu kanzi besathi ukuthi Mbabane Swallows itayithatha le bhola ifake ngale kuthoni yagijima uyayifaka ufaka cross noma mkhwelo uyifaka cross ekhathe boxini sel goal but inyalo akusendeki lo thatha about 6 seconds ke mningi kakhulu ebholeni
kuthi ungafika eboxini but can they overturn the poor no firm kule weekend le
njoba ngishilo ngasekutaba likhulu but invalidly njoba ngishilo ngathi lengaba encourage ukuthi bende kahle noma bayithole iresult ukuthi iVovovo ekhonile ngenza 3 ngakuyo ekhaya so ngicabanga ukuthi lena iMbabane Swallows
how if you can pause right there. I just want to take it back a bit because I'm looking at the way master the team le move ngayo. But then one of the most experienced players in that defense, he's just walking like everything is normal. Look at this incident. If you can just play it, go forward. Okay, right there.
Yes, perfect.
Why?
If a team a parties akusiyo yabona invalid grounding. Ngakutshela mina ngeke ngufihle lokho. Invalid grounding, invalid ejimini. If a team is not properly drilled, if a team ingadrillwa accordingly, i-result yako lokho.
Okay.
Yes. If because badlali ngeke umdlala mane bende na sliphi laba sendako la if ejimini ba trainwa ngendlela lekahle.
Okay. I understand that master. But how is he just walking like nothing is?
Phela is confused. Phela umdlalo othola ama instructions la ngawadi la mehlulako uba confused ngapha egroundini uyambona ukuthi confused.
Offside or not offside?
No, akusiyi offside. Wamfaka amabili yena Javi.
Going forward, I wanted to ask something.
Bengathi ukuthi ufuna kuya kuphi.
I wanted to ask something because we had an argument over the week about this goal. Hence, I'm going to bring it back. I know you talked about it Monday on the show, but I had a discussion with a colleague, well, my senior. How yena makayibuka le clip from where he was. The fact when the ball was played, Pinda, who was actually offside, moved. He interfered with play by the mere fact. Playing a dummy. Playing a dummy. Wouldn't you interpret that?
Okay.
If I play a dummy, okay, I'm involved in the game.
No, it's in fact lamana kuza ekuba involved kule play. If I catch it's either obstructure goalkeeper or uyamphatamisa or le movement yakho beyiconzene nale bhola. But lana there's no way. Kude indlela la ngasitha khona goalkeeper lapha, kude indlela lapho khona i-defender, kude nje i-defender lesicela ukuphinda lapha.
The argument it's Pinda shouldn't have moved. The mere fact that he moved, he reacted to the man master. Listen up. The mere fact that Pinda moved, he reacted to the play of the game.
No.
Is it not that interfering?
No.
But he reacted to the play.
No,
okay, man, didn't he react to the play?
No.
Didn't he move immediately when the ball was passed?
Pathizo now move. Now wena uinterfere shile. Because ikhona i-movement le result noma leyende kusi ema defenders.
Hence I said replay a dummy.
Because noma ngabe umile phela
hey, that's not interfering because you're not involved. You're not.
So sit dumb lap.
You know, I didn't react to the play of the game. So that's the question.
That's not an offside.
So he didn't react to the play of the game. Look at
that's
this.
That's not an offside.
There is pass. He saw the pass. Wakechimongene cards.
Ipass vele bekuyajavi. Bengasiyaphinda.
Number 19 was playing the ball to himself. Mambuka because Mkhelele bekajayiko ikhanza ngale. But anyways, let's continue because kuphela lesikhathi sikhuluma ngayo le clip lena because I know we used to say a lot of noise and kwaba nekhuluma lapha nalapha but ke apparently the ref made a right call. I was just asking because you looking at the reaction yaphinda ukuthi he's reacting to the play and you'll think okay, he's involving himself with a play. Babana Highlanders versus Rangers. Rangers still to taste defeat. 2 games, 2 win. Babana Highlanders 1 win, 1 draw.
Yeah.
Confident. And you've got nothing to lose. You're playing Babana Highlanders, who are the favorites. What's your take?
Ngicabanga ukuthi kule game lena again. I know many fans in Babana Highlanders they want their team ukuthi iwine. But now ibuka kule game ye Manzini Wanderers over the past weekend. Yey beyingasiko bubona mhlambe letikhala betitingulu kakhulu ku midfield now siyabuka bekunapapi then Sawa second half bahlala baba deep babili aw understand lo mhlambe lapha ku midfield yini kahle labayifunako ngicaba ukuthi letikhala betitingulu kakhulu now ubuka nje this is not how Babana Highlanders lisiyati idlala ngayo na ungasenaka in fact the play nayo beyislow kakhulu njoba ngisho ukuthi second half Papi and Sawa bebadlala too deep invo lenga understand ebenchini una Siwakhile una Mlamu Lengambule understand why then second half
umashaba bebayicala ngephandle
second half nana a defender wangena wadlala 6 kwangena men's
oh
two central ngikhuluma two central
defenders and defensive midfielder
so ngicaba ukuthi kusengabe clear lo si coach Enes Mavuso ufuna kuyidlala kanjani uyidlalisa kanjani iyona iBabana Highlanders.
I say iBabana Highlanders they have a group of players who are good but they don't have a team.
Yes kumele baqale badlale as a team. kumele baqale badlale nangithi kumele baqale badlale as a team ngisho ukuthi le combination sifuna kuyibona la khasi midfield because asanku bekusele nje phathizo naku baye attack excuse me baye attack yona imbabana and now uthi yanaka umdlalo track back gun phela bese badlala nga2 ema holding midfield umdlalo track back bekungiphabe kuphela lengicabanga ukuthi le team talk bebayidzinga vele some of ema senior players kudzinga ukuthi nawo ayithathe fortunately for Imbabana Highlanders Skhali uyayithatha le responsibility
every time
exactly
2 games now just saving them the whole time
and he scored beautiful goal out of nowhere.
We saw Mtundi, this is his first team this the past 2 seasons a coach a team as hot coach, right? We saw him at Mancini Wanderers. I always talked about how a beautiful Mancini Wanderers is playing with him in the team, and now he's coming in to Rangers. What are his chances against Mbabane Highlanders team?
Ngicabanga ukuthi njoba usho a very good coach yena Mthunzi, but they'll have to take care of Skhali because
he can come up with a goal out of nothing.
Good umlebe ecanga ukuthi litawungena ligolela.
Yeah.
Good. So if batawukhona ukuthi ba contain Skhali kule game le ngicabanga ukuthi mhlawumbe i results bangayithola, but at the moment it's impossible to stop this guy.
Now, let's continue with another game, Master Lapokona. Oh, his quality, I can agree on that. Sbuga Mancini Wanderers, they'll be looking for maximum point. I think they are playing Tambuti, and Tabangulukelis is playing Mancini Sipet, Master. I think we made a mistake right there. Apologies. And Mancini Wanderers is playing Tambuti, not Tabangulukelis. I know you wanted to say that when you spotted the mistake, but you didn't say. So now, Mancini Wanderers will be playing Tambuti. Apologies again on that. They'll be playing Tambuti. Bese uthi Sipet idlala neTabangulukelis. Mancini Wanderers versus Tambuti.
Oh yes.
First game, Mancini Wanderers here na 13 players idlala 3-1. Second game here na full squad here draw. Positives there.
Yes.
You see the progress.
Yes, ngicabanga progress ikhona, and nawubuka ukuthi cishe nangibabuka nabadlala neMbabane Highlanders this past weekend, cishe bekuyi team lobongasho ukuthi uyayinika lo 5/10 mhlambe lawo movements of the ball uyabona bobo Fabrice Mopina uyababona, and we saw Regan Charles. Yes, adlala.
For someone who hasn't played, I think he looked better.
Exactly, bengifuna kusho ukuthi umdlali lo ngikadlala isikhathi lesithe ka Premier League cishe angeke uzumkhale kakhulu naye lama movements akhe ngisho ukuthi cishe kuma movements lobo wabona ukuthi is one of experienced players la khona ku league.
And you know how we can help Mancini Wanderers, Master? Body yakhe, structure sakhe.
In fact yena uyakhona holder le bhola nguye nje loya uyakhona holder ibhola abese soyadlalisa la lamanye ema players avule angene esikhaleni. So ngicabanga ukuthi lokho kutayisita kakhulu iMancini Wanderers if coach atawukhona. Ngiyathi ukuthi coach Nyanga umcoach lokhona ukuyifaka iphysics ebadlaleni, if atawukhona ukuthi athole lokho ku Regan, then batawukhona ukuyidlalisa le team. Ngiyayinika iMancini Wanderers le game le.
Mancini Wanderers, they've made it a habit, Master. They are making it a habit. I don't know if it's by choice or by their financial status over the past few seasons. They'll always unleash young players. You remember last season, besikhuluma ngabo Tiger. We talked about Bompendulo Makapoli.
Uyathi ukuthi ngicela ukuphathamisa, ngiyajabula ngibona indlela iMancini Wanderers le movements ngayo off the ball. Ukhuluma nge-left back uyayibona naye iyenyuka le bhola nayanga lengenhlangale uyayibona le text ukuthi ngiyasonzela kulo move because say half yethu le ngenda sure ukuthi angangeni ekase boxini, and look at that
Count the seconds.
Uyabona,
take them to cross the center.
Unfortunately pass yagcina ukuthi ingafeki kulo mdlalo bekumele ifike kuye, but ngicabanga ukuthi from the transition from defense to attack cishe ukukhona lokubonako lokunosisako. So I'm happy ngendlela yena Nyanga le team this season lombonako ukuthi uyakha ngayo, even na last season bekayakhe le team. Unfortunately uyathi ukuthi ngiyamvela mani wahlobo.
And we saw kuma papers to bafuna lomnye coach. Why? Is he not doing enough?
ngeke lo coach Lutafe ngeke utela ligama ngeke azakhona
Tawubheka
ukuhlalela
balance
ngeke
inyama.
azakhona ukuhlalela lokho kusuthi awakha le team iphinze ihambe le team 8 ama players akhe ahambe but inyanga is been loyal kumanzini wanda a beautiful goal from yena Phathizwe Mabuza yes Phathizwe Mabuza lengicabanga ukuthi naye ugood
Youngster.
la bholeni uyakhona ukucontrola ibhola uyakhona
then
penetrate and nalama leli goal leli
Movement yakhe nje it's beautiful.
kakhulu
Kuna Phathizwe kunamfana bambita Scotia.
yes
Khona lapha number 2. Kube na Romario epalini from lobeka adlala ku Black Swallows last season.
Ngobiyani
Very good goalkeeper.
Ngobiyani.
He's apparently he's on loan to Imanzi Nandas for a season long.
yes
Quality.
Yeah.
When I see that boy, I see a national team player in the future. Not so long future. He's 21. He should be part of the setup already.
yeah ngicabanga ukuthi i-team lodzinga kuphathizwe ngihlale ngisho ukuthi if ubuilder i-team qala goalkeeper i-defense then lalabanye ama-midfielders ama-strikers sebangaba khona like bendile kubo Fabrice Mopina bamletha la season nangu Regan bamlethile experience ngicabanga
Mix.
kancane batawathola lama results
Asiqhubeka masasibuke wona ama-fixtures ethu njalo sesilahlekela isikhathi. Milling versus Denver Sundowns. Two teams. Yabona makuthiwa master there's games la makhulu. Bese kuba nama games longeke wa classify as la makhulu but who guarantee you entertainment.
no kule category yabo makhulu
They are the biggest, yeah.
yes kule category C
Or B, either way.
this is C
Okay.
to C lona ngisi i-Milling of Spurs ne-Denver Sundowns ngicabanga ukuthi sigasile kubukela ibhola i-Milling of Spurs
Don't be fooled by the results here, Leopard.
yeah
Or not.
no
Leopard is
they are playing a good football but sekuthi nje batholana ne-team lo machine already uyashisa
Uyashisa babuya
yes
e-Africa.
babuye e-Africa bayodlala
Denver?
ne-Denver Sundowns
the whole long siyabonga.
siyabonga
Why I understand is in demand. Most of teams are phone.
yeah kungendeka naye sithi siyavuka ngalenye ilanga sikhanze ukuthi siyabonga Bhembe so sukile Denver Sundowns so tengala ngeke ngisho ukuthi kuphi but so teklamanye ama teams lengicabanga ukuthi naye mhlambe kule team letendekile kuse Denver Sundowns la season and inyalo lendlela labadlala ngayo ngicabanga that's why ama teams ayamfuna
If kunama team laqulwa kokulamalanga master, you're talking about these two teams. Ngathi wonke umvutela kuthatha sama point.
yeah but i-Young Buffaloes kumele bayiwine le game le
Yeah.
if they still want to compete kumele baqale bawine kuMonen Pirates which I believe but ayiwina game yeMonen Pirates
Bashinjweni. Ngoma it's about money in the Pirates more than them.
yeah ngile team labodlala nayo ukuthi ayisiyo lesesimeni lesikahle at the moment
Okay.
yes kanzi i-Young Buffaloes yathi ukuthi banayo lama senior players and balithola that one goal against Monen Pirates ngendeka bamshaya 3
Okay. Green Mamba versus Tinos.
yeah Green Mamba versus Tinos I'm happy ngalendlela labakhona ukuthi babuye ngayo ku Vovovo seba 3 that fighting spirit uyayidzinga eteamini yakho ngicabanga ukuthi yena coach Nuro ngicabanga ukuthi uyakhombisa because once a team Maccabi Kings we used to see that ku Ferguson eNgland i-Manchester United bonge kuzuyidle angashayi nompembe ukuthi uphelile umdlalo kufakwa ngcoach lokho kulabadlali bakhe lokuDecember so ngicabanga ukuthi against Green Mamba yes Green Mamba ngingabatile kakhulu ekuqaleni but this team now ibuka the players they are willing to fight for the team.
Yeah. And then the first team to defeat Royal Leopard last season league, the team leyabavimbela i-unbeaten record yabo Malandi Chiefs. They will be facing Royal Leopard who you said it's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Let's say vele gijima sevele yashisa i-Royal Leopard.
But aba too strong for Malandi Chiefs. At the moment Malandi Chiefs ngicabanga inhlanhla ayikho ngakubo ngikangasho before
ngathi but it's always the case maqala season.
Yes ngikangasho ngathi Malandi Chiefs inale inkinga lethu ukuthi naqala season abadlali vele kahle kakhulu so i first round le i-Royal Leopard njengoba silo ukuthi well old machine but aba too strong for Imalandi Chiefs.
Now it's another season, Master lapho khona. We might just see again Malandi being Malandi fighting relegation from the start up until the end. Just to remind the teams, everyone watching, could relegate 4 this season.
Yathi uthi Phathizo na ukhuluma ngaMalandi Chiefs. Yathi ngibuka ema top scorers labe khona ku Premier League.
Yeah.
Nhlahla mshengu won 2 in a row.
Kumalandi.
Kwangagcini lo 2 in a row kunhlanhla. Kwefika Sandile Hlatshwako.
Yeah.
3 season in a row.
Awina top scorer. Akumalandi.
2 from
Malandi, yeah.
2 mshengu 2. Then Sandila akulona kuMalandi Chiefs. For 3 seasons in a row, Imalandi Chiefs ithatha ema top scorer ku league. So this team in a history. Wafika namalope in 2018.
Konde was right. There was going
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost. So ngicaba ukuthi this team in a rich history. Lekudzinga ukuthi gumethe. Ake ahlale phasi nabo bonke labamvu laba involved kule team.
Yeah.
Bake babuke ukuthi kahle Imalandi Chiefs bese khona kuphi lokuthi si compete because kuma knockouts bebafika ku final, you remember like 2012 Eswatini Bank Cup
13, yeah.
Babuke ukuthi bese recruita njani bese coach obobani bese idlala kanjani because Imalandi Chiefs ibhola yey wonke move bekasinaka ubukela stadium abukele Imalandi Chiefs because badlala ibhola lenhle.
4 teams lo relegate. Do you think they'll survive this time around?
Because if Akambi Malandi Chiefs, but I'll survive.
They'll survive.
Yeah.
Glow 4.
But I'll survive.
Sikhuluma ke leyo sibuko tsingabe uthi batawuhamba bani mayisale Malandi. But anyways, thank you so much, Master. I know today's show was a bit lapha nalapha ubona ukuthi lokungavumelani kunenge, but yeah. Anyway, thanks for your time, Master.
Kubonga mina Phathizo, ngibonga nawe ma-loyal viewers ekhaya.
Sibonge kakhulu kuwe ma-loyal viewers who were watching the show and isethemba ukuthi alifokotela, but unfortunately we are out of time, but we'll be back next week lapho sizabe siqhubeka khona sikhulumisa tona demidlalo. My name is Phathizo Msibi. I do hope you really had a good show. Good night.
Intuthuko lekhonsile yintuthuko lesuka phansi emimangweni usosive lesinesidingeko sayo ingene emiphakathini kuboba betikhulu ikhulunyiswe ibusiswe enkundleni nasesifundzeni ite iyofika kuhulumende lowabatimali tekusukumisa leyo misebenzi yentuthuko nenhlalakahle. Bukela luhlelo sive siyathuthuka kubona imisebenzi lesukunyiswe ngaphansi kweluphiko lwahulumende lekwakha takhiwo letisekelwe ngetimali tahulumende i-micro projects kanye na-regional development fund. Lolu hlelo lutawungena njalo ngalesine nga-8:30 p.m. kusihlwa nangalesihlanu ekuseni nga-9:30 a.m. Sive siyathuthuka, intuthuko yetinkhundla yintuthuko yemaswali.
After a hard year, we've got the Christmas you deserve with incredible savings. like Spa Extra Shelf Life Milk for only $27.99 and Baker's Tennis Biscuits. Buy any two for only 30 emalangeni. Plus, every day, we're giving Lucky Spa Rewards customers their shopping for free. Merry Christmas from all of us at Spa.
You are watching Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
Hello and welcome to the She Word, the show where we discuss trending topics among women across Africa. On the show today, we have Dr. Nyashura Muthiga from Nairobi, Kenya. She is a medical doctor.
Asante, I am happy to be here.
We also have Beauty Simeon from Nigeria. She is the founder of Vagina Care Initiative in Lagos.
I greet to know.
We also have Sarah Noor from Somalia. Sarah is a public health nurse. Karibu.
Mahatsanit Ebi.
And I am Ebi Weyime. I am the founder of the Grace Cup. This is Kenya's first reusable period product company focusing on cloth pads and menstrual cups. I am also a certified menstrual hygiene trainer. Karibuni.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today we discuss vaginal care. Across the continent, women have engaged in different ways to become tighter. But do these practices actually work, and are they dangerous? BBC's Dayo Yusuf looks at some practices in Ethiopia and Kenya.
It is a market day here in Kamisi town. And like other women, Sedina is up early for her routine shopping. She is looking for kai. Kai is a mixture of dry wood and herbs that women here boil or throw directly in the fire, then sit over the steam or smoke. Although no one really knows the origin of the practice, it is an age-old tradition that many believe is beneficial to their health.
The men here prefer women who steam themselves with scented kai. Kai gives a very good scent. It makes the skin soft and keeps the man interested in you. I have 9 children. If I wasn't using kaiing all the time, I believe my husband would have left me for another woman. Because having all those children certainly makes you old.
For Sedina, it means carefully selecting her herbs that she will use for steaming. This is a process that will take her almost a whole day in the market and is quite costly. Back home, the fire is lit using the pieces of wood she bought earlier in the market, and now the work begins. Today, Sedina will need the help of her close friend. Although it is more than 30 degrees outside, Sedina will persevere the heat.
It is very important for a woman who has given birth. This is because anytime you give birth, your vagina expands and you bleed a lot. So this steam will heal and tighten you. You get back to how it was before birth and you are always happy.
The practice of vagina tightening has been done over the continent by many communities for many years. Over the East African coast, in the Swahili culture, it's been passed on from one generation to another. However, in bigger cities like Mombasa in the recent years, women have been taking a more modern approach, albeit more risky.
Karibu, karibu. Assalamu alaikum. Walaikum salam bihali. Karibu.
Asante. Munira is a resident here, and just like other local women, she understands the benefits of the practice. But around here, the most popular practice of tightening the vagina is called shabu.
This shabu helps a lot because some women get very wet down there. So when you insert the shabu, it makes it a bit drier. Then you feel it pulling and tightening the muscles. Now this is the shabu, and it works in a simple way. You take this space, you crush it into a powder and put it into a piece of cotton. And then this is a good scent oil. It smells of oud. So you mix with this and then you insert it in the vagina. And then you feel the muscles pulling, and then the oil helps to give a good smell.
Munira has a reason to smile for now. But the truth is, most of these products they use have not been tested. They do not know the ingredients and may have health implications. Doctors in Kenya are aware of this practice. Their main concern, however, is that many women are using unconventional means that could be harmful to their health.
There's a woman who will come to the clinics thinking that she has laxity or looseness, only to be examined and it is confirmed that it's really a psychological problem, which then psychotherapy, counseling would be a medical solution to her problem.
Wow.
That's a lot.
I must say, I was holding on to my own vagina while watching that.
I was almost breaking down.
Very
because
intense.
it's very toxic.
Yeah. It is.
That's a
And
lot.
I just
think of, for what? I mean, at the end of it, our bodies are just healthy and natural the way they are. Why are we messing
The
with
interesting
it
thing
and
is
introducing
they
chemicals?
they absolutely believe what they're saying. Like they've learned, they've grown having been taught that. And when you look at them doing whatever they're doing, they're very convinced and very convicted about the results of their action.
Right.
For me, first of all, I'd be very concerned about burns, like right at the beginning. Do you know, if you're a young mother, maybe 18, do you know at what point to stop if it burns? Like the steam gets hot.
Right.
And you actually burn, like before we go into inserting and anything else, like it's possible to actually burn.
I think for most of them it's just a psychological thing,
Yeah.
and it stems from, as kids, even in my own experience as we were discussing, like it's how you're introduced to this topic.
Right.
What did your mother tell you it is? Did they call it a flower, a lulu? What did they call it? Who here has ever heard their mother say vagina to
Right.
them? You see, so it's something of shame, something that is just for your husband, something that is very private. So, and sometimes you get smells as a woman. Sometimes because of just the doctor will tell us it's because of the just imbalances and everything. But then women think it's because I'm dirty, so now I need to steam, and now I need to do all of these things. And at the end of the day, who are you doing it for? You're doing it for the man. You're not even doing it for yourself. So you have to ask yourself, if the man was taken out of the equation, would I still be doing this?
You see, if the smell is actually there and it's from an infection, then it's better to get treated for it. Because sometimes it's just maybe having the wrong information about what to do when you need to do something. Sometimes when there is infection, there is discharge, there is smell. But then there is what is acceptable as a discharge, as a smell, like the vagina. It's not supposed to be odorless. There is a scent that comes from there, and there is the one that is allowed. Then there is what comes from sexually transmitted infection.
And I'm just curious, what do they do in Nigeria?
It's similar to what we have here. You put the hot water. They use hot water instead. They put the hot water and then they sit over it. So I sometimes I worry about it because I'm like, aside, like you said, the burn, aside the thing you think is cleaning or it's working, how about you get burned? What happens? What will you do? The irritation and all of that. So it's really, really, really crazy. And the fact that we are doing this for the man, to satisfy the man, I don't understand it. I really don't get it.
Yeah, the topic of douching as well. Like I find that many people confuse just washing the vulva, which is the outside part of the female organ,
So the
and the vagina itself. So sometimes you get women. There are all these cleansers that are being sold in the market, and women think that you have to actually insert it and
in the
put it
vagina.
inside. And the douching. Why would you want to wash? It's the inside. It's like washing your throat with a toothbrush. Would you scrub your throat with a toothbrush? You scrub your teeth, but not your throat. So why would you do that?
It's
to your
interesting
vagina?
that you compare it to the throat, because the lining is almost the same as the vagina. I think douching is just unbelievable. First, the discomfort. The vagina has a way of self-cleaning.
Yeah. But one of the things that stands out to me about the case in Kenya is the products, right, that people are using, and also Ethiopia. And that is, I think, for me, I've seen in our country, we've seen frankincense, which is much more natural, and I've not seen it as a tightening product, but more as a product to actually just address the smell. Which, I don't think even science shows that is not as harmful as when you're introducing rocks and chemicals and things like that now the younger generation are being exposed to or are sold in the product.
I guess by the time they come to me, it means they've gone all extreme. So usually when they come to us, they've already gotten into problems as a result, and usually they'll not tell you at the beginning what they used until later. If you probe, if you're able to get them to tell you about it, they'll put in corrosive soaps. Sometimes it's just high chemical stuff, and usually we are told you can just clean your private area, just generally everything, the vulva, with just clean water.
Do they come asking for surgery? And
no, by the time they're coming, they just come, initially they'll just tell you, I'm having some irritation, I'm having some smell, some discharge, and when you check, you're like, okay, this doesn't look like it was just a natural process, because sometimes you'll see the burns, like a constantly heat exposed area. You'll be able to see different stages of healing. So they will come just saying they're uncomfortable or whatever it is. Yeah,
but I've also noticed that so many women are going through cosmetic surgery to tighten their vaginas, to make them smaller. To make them smaller or to make them tighter. And I think
spending a lot of money doing it, right?
It's not cheap. It's not cheap. And I think, is this just, is it like a female thing? Because very few men would say that they've gone to make their penis longer.
Oh, they have.
Yeah, they have. But I feel like when men do it, they're doing it so that they can be a stallion and they can be everywhere with all the women.
Yeah.
But a woman is doing it for their husband.
But my question, though, is how much of this whole, from young age, no matter what country we are from, that we are introduced to this concept of virginity, right? And all that entails, right? So is this tightness really the origin of it? Is it at a young age we are told to keep your legs together, be a virgin until you get married? And then so we interpret that to be, this has to be tight for the rest of our lives, instead of thinking, it's a growth that we're going through, having children, and actually the science shows it expands, but it also contracts. The body takes care of itself.
The thing that we don't know about our body is we are different, so is our vagina. You have the really small vagina, you have a really wide vagina. What is actually really popular in Nigeria is kayamata. They don't really use surgery or do surgery, so they just use the kayamata to tighten it and to make them feel. It's a mixture of herbs, and it helps. According to them, it helps to tighten the vagina or make the vagina sweet.
So how is it used?
I think they have different types of kayamata, but some they'll say, okay, you have to boil with water. It's going to make you feel like a virgin again, or it's going to make the man think you're a virgin.
So, Beauty, that sounds like it's a traditional fad. Is there some modern fads that are coming up that you see?
Not really that I know about. It's just the kayamata that I know that a lot of women are into.
Thanks for sharing that, Beauty. That kayamata herb is really interesting. I learned something today. Now, this is a program about topics relevant to women across Africa. But hey, men's opinions matter too. Join us to find out what the men in Kampala, Uganda think about the topic right after the break. I'm going to be Googling it.
It's so funny. Welcome back to the She Word. This week, our focus is on vaginal care and fads. We asked the men in Kampala, Uganda, is virginity a priority when picking a partner? Ladies, we've got mail.
No, I don't think it's necessary to get a virgin girl.
I'd indeed prefer to have a virgin.
In fact, I'd be very grateful to see that my girl gets married when she's a virgin. Virgin girls are kind of too local, I think. They're a little bit disturbing, okay? Act childish, and I think to me, it's not necessary to get a virgin girl.
They tend to say girls who are virgin or boys who are virgin, they have a great priority to marriage and the society at large. But according to my own opinion, getting a virgin lady is not my first priority.
First and foremost, in African culture, it is a sign of love and much respect and honor for a child to come from a family to get married when she is a virgin. It shows a good upbringing, right? Means the girl was cared for very well, and even a parent, you feel proud of having a girl getting married when she's a virgin.
Wow. So, if that's the qualification for getting married, then I guess I'm out.
Right? I know, right? But you run a blog, right?
Yes.
These topics, I'm sure people comment on it, you write about it. What's your reaction to it? You just
to me, it's just ego for the men. They want to feel like, oh, I married my wife when she was a virgin. I'm the first man to touch my wife. But I don't think that's really necessary.
For me, I just feel like I don't oppose people who believe in being a virgin until you're married, but the same standard should be applied to the man as well.
I keep wondering, why is it a thing of pride for the woman and not a thing of pride for the man?
Yeah. Most men in Nairobi feel like it's impossible to find a virgin right now, so just settle for whatever you have. Just settle for whatever you have. Actually, there was a discussion that time where they were saying that you finding a virgin woman, you'll be like the luckiest, like a woman of age who's a virgin, you'll be like the luckiest man around. So just give up on that notion, because it's going to be almost impossible unless she's a nun.
Right? Yeah. It's good to see that actually some men are okay with it. I guess maybe the circumstances around why the woman lost her virginity or whatever it is.
She had been married, or
it could be, it could be different circumstances. But it's good to see that they're coming down a bit on some of these things, but I don't think it's an endorsement of immorality.
Right. Yeah.
I think they're not saying that, hey, we approve of. They're just saying, look, the woman could have other qualities that make her like the woman of my choice. Yeah. And then I won't have to use her virginity as the reason why I can't be with her. So I think I applaud the men in Uganda to that
point. Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I appreciated was the person saying it's not the most important thing in me choosing a wife, right? Yes. So I think for me, I have both daughters and sons, and I would want them to be virgin until they get married. Yeah. You know, that's a value that I'm instilling in them. That's something that I'm talking to them about. But it's also not to the point where I am saying that message in a way that really shames them if something happens and they choose not to, right? I think it's just really instilling some morality and instilling in some values as a parent, but also realizing that people make mistakes, right? We're all humans. And you are more than your genitals. Yes. Yeah, and I think that's a message that I think we really need to talk about. We don't hear enough. Yeah.
And I feel also as you're telling your child that she should keep her virginity. Keep your virginity for yourself and not for your husband, right? Because then that's when you get into marriages and then something happens and you break up. Then the woman is like, I kept my virginity for you.
And you're so angry,
you know? Yeah, and you're so angry and you're so bitter. Like I should have done this when I was 18. I did this at 25 because I was waiting, or at 30 because I was waiting for you. So keep your virginity because you are the one who wants to keep it, because you want to give it to your husband, and not and you want to give it to your husband, yes, but also for your own purity. As you feel, but also for a woman who wants to lose her virginity at 18 or at 20, there is no shame in that, and it is not a mistake. So if you feel like this is the point that I'm ready to do it, and I'm ready to do it with a man that I love or that I just have a crush on. But not also
to lose it in terms of pressure, you know, like I'm in this group where I'm the only one, and then I feel there's just something to be proud about.
Absolutely.
I mean, being able to keep off. I think in this day and age, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult to remain a virgin and to remain, sexually pure in this day and age. It's actually more tougher than back in the day, I guess.
Yeah.
There's too much
But there's
exposure.
nothing wrong in aspiring to it. Right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's
there's nothing-
what the message is.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it, but just we don't need to put shame and guilt
Yes.
into
Exactly.
it. It's, life
That's
is
why we
hard
have to
enough.
talk to our
So
parents.
segueing it from virginity to how do you take care of your vagina? Dr. Njoki Fernandez, gynecologist in Kenya, gives us some tips.
Some people put toothpaste, other people put garlic, other people put floral scents. The vagina is not supposed to smell like a flower. The vagina is a self-cleansing, self-maintaining organ, which is very important for us to remember all the time. The first thing that we need to do is to have regular showers with warm water and not abrasive detergents or soaps, and to always wear cotton underwear that is cleaned every day and dried in the sun. We avoid wearing thongs and synthetic linen fabrics which can cause irritation. And then we use the bathroom regularly, especially before and after intimate relationships. Let us make sure that we hydrate well and we have a lot of food with culture bacteria like yogurt, which helps in the daily care and hygiene of the vagina. Some practical don'ts: avoid douching. You see, the vagina has what we call normal flora, the bacteria that exist in the vagina naturally, and they are put there to help with the normal acid-base balance and the normal lubrication of the vagina. So when you introduce foreign material, it upsets this balance and causes problems. Also, avoid sleeping with underwear. If you can, as practically as possible, try and sleep without underwear, and especially without the synthetic underwear that you use. If you're going to use lubrication, it is advisable that you use water-soluble lubricants. Avoid using petroleum jelly because it sticks, it doesn't clean easily, and it causes other infections and other problems. We need to be careful about the sanitary products that we use, especially around the vagina. So that bathroom tissue that we use should be the highest quality, without dyes and without flaking. It should be lint-free as much as possible. The sanitary pads should be absorbent, preferably without a scent or a perfume or a smell, and you should change them regularly. If you're going to wear tampons, please make sure that they're highly absorbent, but do not keep them in for too long. It is advisable to see a gynecologist regularly, at least once every 6 months. It is important to have responsible sexual behavior and to use protection, especially if you are not in a monogamous relationship. This protects you and protects your partners from being exposed to a myriad of infections.
Those were really great tips Dr. Fernandez gave.
She just talked about garlic, and there was a time I actually put garlic in my vagina.
Oh wow!
Abby.
Don't judge me. Yes, it's because I was still in Cape Town. Then I was reading about I had an infection, yeast infection. So I was looking at home remedies. By the way, never do any home remedies.
At all.
They are doctors for a reason.
Stop setting or
So they said put in garlic and yogurt, put it in a tampon and insert it.
Oh
my
my
God,
God.
I was burning. I was burning, and I was like, home remedy. And then after that, I went to the pharmacy. I got antibiotics. Within 2-3 days, it was done.
And you see, we were assuming that these things are for the uneducated. Look at it.
Exactly. The experts using these
That's
fads.
before I knew
Before
it.
you are awakening.
Yeah, before I was woke, right?
Yeah. But there are very interesting points that she's mentioned. Lint-free tissue. Did you ever think about it before? Like, you just think tissue is tissue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Tissue.
on that, if there's one thing I promised myself,
Yeah.
I said no matter how broke I get, I will never use cheap toilet paper.
Yeah.
That is just a no for me.
Yeah.
There's some that are really cheap, and after wiping, you can
Leave.
actually see pieces of it
Yeah.
on your vulva and on your anus, and you're like, what
Maybe
is
I
this?
used other reasons not to buy it, but
That's
I've never
true,
thought
yeah.
about it like lint-free tissue. But
Right?
she said
Oh,
some
I
very
thought
good
about
things.
it, yeah.
Don't sleep with underwear, for
Please
example.
let it breathe.
Let it breathe.
Let it breathe. Also, I'll also add we should
with the tissue, I think it's important to swipe from front to back and not from back to front.
Yeah, that's
you
good.
don't want to do that because you don't want to bring the things from the other side to the vagina.
Yes.
Very important.
So what can be done? I mean, I think we talked about, I think as Maya Angelou said, you know, when you know better, you do better. But the reality of it is these are things that are being advertised to us. They're out in the market. You know, there are people that are buying it or looking at it, you know, like what you said about the garlic. They just want a relief, right? So what should be done by our governments to actually stop these harmful practices from reaching the consumer?
Information.
You know, and young girls and women.
Information. You see, Abby did it out of lack of information.
Right.
And she had access to it. It's just that maybe it wasn't in her view. We have social media, we have mainstream media, we have all these avenues that the government and anybody interested in menstrual hygiene, reproductive health can be able to encourage. Information is everything.
And also feel like our policymakers, especially our female legislators, should really be at the forefront and saying this type of things we don't want for our girls.
As mothers, we should do this too. Talk to our girls. We don't have to let them learn from the outside. At the young age, you tell them your vagina is fine. It's doing well. You don't have to do anything extra to keep it clean.
And actually show them practically
how to clean the vagina.
I completely agree with all of you ladies. It's been great talking to you today. But there's so much more to say on this topic. Please continue the discussion on the BBC Africa social media platforms and keep the conversation going with the hashtag #TheSheWord. You can also watch the whole show and others on our website at www.bbc.com/SheWord. Goodbye. Very lovely.
It's Anonymous the Poet. It's surprising how I got here, where love has replaced blood in my veins. My heart's no longer pumping blood, but it pumps love. It has brightened my days. Love oozes out of my skin pores. It changes and charges the atmosphere of hatred into love. I'm now at ease, out of scooch. I have everlasting joy. I feel like squealing. This love gives me happiness. I feel like screaming. Love has become a language, I speak it. Love has become a verb and I do it. It has become an oxygen, I inhale it. I'm now in the word of love, where the color of nature green has turned into red. It's love. The sun rays no longer give heat, but it give love. I'm immersed in love. I'm no longer a resounding gong, nor clinging cymbal. Forever and everlasting love. God is love. I thought it was my righteousness that saved me. I thought it was my worldly wisdom. I think it's my buoyancy, but actually it's love, coded by grace, me in love with one. It's love, coded by grace, me in love with one. It's love, coded by grace, me in love with one. God is love. Under my feet I have rooted, not rooted on the ground, but they are rooted in love. I suck it up in my body. I sweat it all out. This love has made me pass the face of eye to an eye. Evil to evil, fist to fist, retaliation. I'm now in the face of peace, breaking asunder all the arrows of my enemies. Attenuating their devices is astounding. This godly love has boosted my confidence. I pull my chest out, my shoulders back, chin up. I walk tall knowing that I'm loved with the love that never fades away. Love that has no spices of hypocrisy. Love that always bestows in me the best. He loved me so much that he gave his only precious possession, his son. He kept no records of my wrong. His love is kind. He loved me too much that he couldn't even hide it. I'm God's baby. God is love. I thought it's my buoyancy, but actually it's love, coded by grace, me in love with one. It's love, coded by grace, me in love with one. It's love, coded by grace, me in love with one. I was stained with sin till I became sin myself. But somebody came and replaced my sinful nature and became sin that I may be right, that I may be full of love. He loved me even when I failed him again and again. He says, I know you failed yesterday, my child, but you can do better today. His love never give up on me. He's no man. He never get tired of loving me. Even if I stumble, He says, I'll make sure you don't fall. He yanks me to his chest and embraces me. And he tells me how much he loves me. He loved me first just before I did. His love for me never changed. It is the same yesterday, today, and forever it will be the same. Human love fluctuates. Human love is pretentious. God's love, it's amazing. His love makes one better. His love gives peace of heart. It's love coded by grace, me in love with what? It's love coded by grace, me in love with what? It actually love, me in love with one. It's Antonymous the Poet.
I mean, God had to go at me a number of times before I finally swallowed this. Because we just have such a wrong mindset about what God expects out of us. And you know what religion is? Religion is what we think God expects out of us instead of us looking at what he's done for us. We have worth and value not because of what we do, but because Jesus died for us. Because we're no better than anybody else. Anything that we are that in Christ, or we're nothing at all. And I enjoy ministry so much more now. I'm so comfortable, and I love God, and I like myself, and you know, I don't care what you think about that, but I just like myself. You know, I spent enough years hating myself. I'm done with all that. Amen.
You are watching Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
Uhuru Kenyatta.
One place where we're both deeply concerned is Ethiopia. The conflict there threatens not just that country, but its neighbors as well.
Demonstrators shot dead in Sudan after police fire at anti-coup protesters. We have the latest from Khartoum. Also in the programme, clashes over resources. We find out why there's a spike in violent conflict between locals and conservancies in northern Kenya. And Peter will have all the sport as FIFA says it'll review South Africa's defeat by Ghana in World Cup qualifying. Bafana Bafana claim there were irregularities in the match.
91% of incorrect decisions against one team surely makes a case for deliberate bias.
Welcome to Focus on Africa, coming to you, of course, as ever, from BBC World News. Now, the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has kicked off his three-nation tour of Africa in Kenya, where he met the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, one of Washington's key allies on the continent. The two men discussed regional security issues, including last month's coup in Sudan, the war in Ethiopia, and combating Islamist militancy in Somalia. Well, Mr. Blinken again today repeated that US call for a ceasefire. This is what he said.
The way the conflict has progressed, more and more parts of the country have become involved and or are in jeopardy with their citizens bearing the consequences. And whether that's in Tigray over the last year, more recently in Amara, and moving further south toward Addis, the people who suffer are the people, and we have to make sure that they are getting the assistance they need and that the fighting ceases and the talking starts.
So that was the US Secretary of State. He also held a joint press conference with his Kenyan counterpart, Rachel Omao. The BBC senior Africa correspondent, Anne Soy, has been following the day's events.
Kenya is an important partner of the United States in this region. It is a troubled region. When you look at the countries around, there are crises going on there, and that has seen President Uhuru Kenyatta play an increasingly important role in trying to find solutions. And peace and security issues, therefore, took center stage in the discussions today on the situation in Ethiopia, the conflict that has been going on for more than a year now. Millions of people are in dire need of humanitarian aid, which they have not been getting because of the conflict. Close to 400,000 people are facing famine, and therefore the situation, especially in the north of the country, is dire. The United States says that it is backing efforts by the African Union to try and find a diplomatic solution. On the situation in Sudan, the Secretary reiterated the position of the United States, which is calling for the reinstatement of the civilian leadership. He also did speak about Somalia. Elections were due to be held earlier this year. They have been long delayed, and the Secretary urged the government to complete that process to realize those elections. He talked a lot about democracy, especially in a meeting with civil society here in Kenya. Kenya is going to elections next year, and he talked about a global recession of democracy where people are increasingly not trusting democracy, and also acknowledging that the United States has faced its own challenges, in reference to that transition from the Trump administration to the Biden administration. Now, he leaves Kenya tomorrow, heads to Nigeria, where he will unveil the Biden administration's Africa policy, and from there he will go to Senegal, where he'll conclude his Africa tour.
So that was Anne Soy. Well, it's not just the US that's been speaking out on the escalating events in Ethiopia, because the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights today raised concerns about the detention of at least 1,000 people, mostly ethnic Tigrayans. A spokesperson said detention conditions are generally poor and many detainees are held in overcrowded police stations. 10 local UN staff members who were arrested on the 9th of November remain in detention. Here's the UN's Liz Throssell.
We're concerned that arrests have been continuing over the last week in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, as well as in Gondar, Bahir Dar and other locations, as police invoke the excessively wide provisions of the state of emergency declared on the 2nd of November to arrest, search and detain people. These developments are all the more disturbing given that most of those detained are reported to be people of Tigrayan origin.
So that was the UN's Liz Throssell there. And against that backdrop of diplomatic discussions, reports continue to reach us here of heavy fighting that's been taking place today between the TPLF and government forces. So let's get the latest on that. And I'm glad to say that from Nairobi, Beverly Ochieng is joining us, and she is the senior security analyst with BBC Monitoring. Hello again, Beverly. So let's just kick off first with the latest on today's fighting.
Well, there's been no clear reporting on how far the rebels have been able to move. There has been, over the recent weeks, reports that the rebels are closing in to Addis Ababa, and this has led to some hostility, especially towards international media reporting about the conflict. It's the trouble that there's only some sources of information that come out. Some could be very unverified. State media has been holding back to some extent, and the rebel TVs have focused on glorifying the rebel victories.
Beverly, obviously the Secretary of State is in town. He'll be across the region. In terms of geopolitics, why choose those three countries to visit?
So as we've just heard, Kenya does play a significant role diplomatically and security-wise in the East and the Horn of Africa. There is the role that it will play in mediating the conflict in Ethiopia as well as the crisis in Sudan, given the fact that it is a non-permanent member of the Security Council. With Senegal, it's one of the friendlier Francophone countries to Western nations, so there's the need to reinforce trade, but also Senegal is a bit of a launching pad to the Sahel if you think about the conflict that's taking place there, so its role in peace and security will also be crucial. With Nigeria, this is the biggest economy. Of course, Nigeria has been seeking to increase security ties with the U.S., given that it is grappling with an insurgency. It had requested for the U.S. Africa Command to move in. And there's also the economic importance and how it anchors the Western African region.
Now let's just go to some of the countries that are on his agenda, and that is Sudan and Ethiopia. Quite a timely moment for this visit and Mr. Biden's administration. I mean, in terms of what Mr. Blinken is going to have to say, in terms of what President Biden's policy has to say on this, just how much influence do they have?
I mean, if you think about how the Sudan coup took place, it was within hours of the the Horn of Africa envoy leaving the country, which shows that there was some degree of undermining even his presence or the meetings that he had with both the military as well as the civilians. And if you think about how the Ethiopia conflict has built up, of course, it started at a point of US's transition. So there was that difficulty of holding the fire back home after Trump left, and also being able to be that moral duty, you know, the placeholder of moral responsibility for diplomatic ties within the region. So there has been that difficulty in mediating the efforts. And Ethiopia has also become increasingly hostile towards US media outlet reporting on the conflict, its policy towards how it stands on the TPLF and the government. So there has been some difficulty mediating the conflict in that means.
Okay, Beverly, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Now, there have been further scenes of unrest in Sudan, with the BBC receiving reports from doctors that at least 10 people have been shot dead by security forces in the capital, Khartoum. Well, tear gas was fired in an attempt to break up pro-democracy protests against last month's military takeover. Today is actually the day when a full transition to civilian rule was supposed to have been negotiated under the terms of the original 2019 transition deal. Since October's coup, more than 100 government officials and political leaders, including the Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, have been arrested. Well, I'm joined now by the BBC's Sally Nabil, live from Sudan's capital, Khartoum. Hello there, Sally. It's a very fast developing situation. What's the latest on those protests?
The situation here is pretty tense. A few protesters have been killed and dozens others have been injured, according to medical sources. There are reports about live ammunition being used to disperse the crowds, but this hasn't been confirmed yet. But what we know for sure is that the protesters have been heavily tear-gassed by security forces during the demonstrations that took part in different parts of the country to reject the coup and call for a transition to civil rule. In fact, since the morning, there were signs that things are gonna escalate because phone lines are down in this country now. The Sudanese are totally cut off from the rest of the world. The internet has been down here for nearly 3 weeks, and today phone lines are down too, and the people here associate this communication blackout with a possibility that things might take a violent turn in the field, which they actually did. So it is a pretty tense situation, and it will definitely have some implications on the already complicated political scene at the moment.
The military does have quite a reputation when it comes to tactics. How likely is it that they will listen to the protesters, or are we more likely to see a much tougher crackdown?
Actually, what we've been hearing from protesters, whether today or the past few days, they accuse the military rulers of ignoring them, of turning a blind eye to the repeated calls of a democratic transition to civil rule. They are not just ignoring the people in the street, I've been told, but they are also ignoring international and Western powers who have been exercising a lot of pressure on the military junta to try and at least reach a compromise with the head of the interim government, the dissolved interim government, Mr. Abdallah Hamdok, who is currently under house arrest. So there is no sign that things are gonna go for a breakthrough or that this deadlock is going to be resolved soon. The people here are pretty determined to continue protesting until they force the military leaders to listen to them and hand over power to civilians. But so far, there are no signs that those in power are listening.
Okay, Sally, thank you very much for that data and analysis as ever. Thank you. Well, still to come, whilst parts of Kenya are gripped by drought, the need for water is leading to violent clashes between local herdsmen and wildlife conservancies. Okay, now the so-called Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for twin bombings in Uganda's capital, Kampala, on Tuesday. The Islamist militant group claimed that Uganda is one of the countries that is participating in the war against Islamic State fighters across Central Africa, and that this is their justification for targeting the country. 6 people died in the attacks, including 3 suicide bombers. Patience Atuhere reports from Kampala.
In the wake of yesterday's attacks, much of Kampala has gone back to normal business, apart from the areas where the explosions happened. The blasts happened within 3 minutes of each other in an area with quite a heavy security presence, and this has left many Ugandans in shock. Many of those caught in the blasts were ordinary people going about their working day.
When the blast went off, it flung us in different directions. I looked around and saw that the windows of the Raja Chambers buildings had all crashed to the ground. People were running everywhere. I saw some of them heading towards the building, but there was broken glass everywhere. I tried to get under a car. Some of the people were saying, "Get down, stay down."
Police have identified all the suicide bombers as Ugandans. President Yoweri Museveni said via his Twitter account that these are misguided and confused young Ugandans being recruited to carry out terror attacks. Following a temporary suspension on Tuesday, Parliament has announced that it will resume sittings on Thursday. This is the 3rd time that the Islamic State group, or IS, has claimed responsibility for attacks in Uganda since October this year. The authorities have continued to blame the attacks on the Allied Democratic Forces rebel group. A faction of the ADF, which is based in Eastern DRC, has in recent years claimed to be affiliated to the IS. Patience Atuhere, BBC News, Kampala.
That was Patience Atuhere, and it is time now to catch up with all the sport this evening. Peter, lots of sport as well. Nice to see you.
Lots of football, you know, qualifications yesterday.
No
we now
Formula
know
One?
who's in the playoffs now.
No Formula One?
No, but Saturday was brilliant. Sunday rather was brilliant. Many thanks to question. Now FIFA says it will review South Africa's defeat by Ghana in 2022 World Cup qualifying after the South African Football Association SAFA made a complaint to the world governing body. Bafana needed a draw against the West Africans on Sunday to reach the 3rd and final round of African qualifying, but Ghana won 1-0 with a controversial first half penalty in Cape Coast. The SAFA have been stating their case today at a press conference attended by the BBC's Nopsa Maseko.
The South African Football Association believes betting and possible match fixing are the reasons behind questionable refereeing decisions that cost Bafana the World Cup qualifying match against Ghana last Sunday. The Black Stars of Ghana were awarded a controversial penalty in the first half. SAFA CEO Danny Jordan has said that there was a clear pattern that manipulated the outcome of the match.
How is it that there's a betting spike just before a major decision is taken, and therefore people bet? So they knew when to bet.
A comprehensive report compiled by the country's top former referee, Ace Ngobo, will be used as part of the Football Association's formal complaint to FIFA to investigate the conduct of the referee.
91% of incorrect decisions against one team surely makes a case for deliberate bias. That the referee in this match was blatantly biased against South Africa. 90.9% of incorrect decisions against one team is a clear case of a match official unlawfully influencing and or manipulating the course and or the outcome of a match.
The Ghana Football Association has dismissed match-fixing allegations and have said they're not expecting anything to come from the investigation. Meanwhile, it could take months before FIFA makes a decision on the matter. Nomsa Masego, BBC News, Johannesburg.
Some very serious allegations there. Well, we now know the 10 teams that will be involved in the playoffs. Cameroon, Tunisia, Algeria and Nigeria clinched the final places in the African playoffs for next year's World Cup. The Democratic Republic of Congo, Egypt, Ghana, Mali, Morocco and Senegal had already reached the playoffs, which will take place next March and decide the continent's 5 representatives in Qatar. Now, finally, Zimbabwe run the risk of being banned by football's world governing body FIFA after the country's FA board was suspended by the government-appointed Sports and Recreation Commission. FIFA disapproves of political interference, and if a ban is imposed, it means Zimbabwe could miss the Nations Cup in January. But the Sports and Recreation Commission Chair Gerald Mulshwa has told the BBC they are willing to risk a ban to sort out the sport in the country. You wouldn't be very happy if they missed out on the Nations Cup next year, would you?
No. No, I wouldn't actually, because I know exactly what you're talking about. It was Formula One you were talking about, wasn't it, Peter? Thank you, Peter, there with all the sport. Now, West African military chiefs are holding a 3-day summit in Ivory Coast on the escalating jihadist insurgency in the Sahel region. Senior officers from the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, are discussing counter-terrorism efforts and the African Union's proposal to deploy 3,000 troops to the region. Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso have been battling an Islamist insurgency for years. Our reporter Lalasa has more from Abidjan.
A minute of silence in memory of the victims of terrorism, particularly those of the recent attacks against civilians and military personnel in Burkina Faso. That's how the Committee of Army Chiefs of Staff of ECOWAS meeting began this morning in Abidjan. It is its first presidential activity since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. The absence of Mali and Guinea, both suspended from this sub-regional organization, have been noted, as you can imagine, because of the coups that occurred in the two countries last year and a few months ago. The ECOWAS members have not failed to denounce these coups and called again for the return of constitutional rule.
It is our fervent prayer that the two countries would heed to the call by the heads of state to return their respective countries to democratic rule soon. The security situation along the borders of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and the Lake Chad region continue to remain unpredictable.
The main objective of this meeting is to anticipate the aftermath of Barkhane, French force deployed in the Sahel, which this morning transferred its base in Tessalit, northern Mali, to the Malian armed forces. Hence, the chiefs of staff insisting on the need for solidarity between the armies of ECOWAS countries in order to prevent any jihadist threat in the Sahel as a result of the withdrawal of the French forces. Lalassi, BBC News, Abidjan.
Now, Kenya is famous for its wildlife and conservation efforts, but recent clashes between local herdsmen and wildlife conservancies have left more than a dozen people dead and displaced hundreds. The policy think tank, the Oakland Institute, alleges that organisations that set up these conservancies and deny local herdsmen access to historical resources are fueling the tensions. The BBC's Ferdinand Omondi has the report.
Northern Kenya is in the grip of a drought so severe the government has declared it a national disaster. This precious water resource is highly sought after and has led to violent conflict between pastoralists and local conservancies over who has the right to use it.
Those people are thoroughly armed. They are more powerful than us. That's why we are still here. We have our shallow wells where we water our animals. We know where our reserves are and how long they will last. But because of conflict, we cannot access some areas. That's why our animals are dying.
In this part of the country, the livestock are the wealth, and to preserve this wealth, they must be well fed and well hydrated. That means a constant search for pasture and water, and anything or anyone who gets in the way of that process is considered an enemy. Pastoralists like Mohammed claim these conservancies block access to historical watering holes and pasture, a charge that the trust denies. A number of community rangers who protect these conservancies are armed. some with government-issued weapons to protect wildlife from poachers and herders from cattle thieves. Now, the Auckland Institute's report claims that some of the rangers have been involved in actions that go beyond conservation. They allege armed rangers under Northern Rangelands Trust are involved in human rights violations, including extrajudicial killings.
By putting out these allegations, which I agree are very serious, what we are calling for is an immediate investigation, whether it is by the Kenyan government into these allegations, that what the impact of this militarized, privatized conservation is, which is resulting in the loss of lives or violent ethnic conflicts.
But the Northern Rangelands Trust says the report is based on misconceptions. The trust maintains that movement in community conservancies is unrestricted and also rejects the claims that their rangers are involved in conflict.
What people are seeing and mistaking that is conservancies, these are just illegal firearms in the hands of civilians, the youths across the landscape, Quite a good number of them have firearms, and illegal actually, that they live with their livestock. The reality is that some of the communities have more illegal firearms than the others.
The Kenyan government notes there is a proliferation of illegal small firearms among pastoralists in northern Kenya that has led to increased deadly attacks. Mohammed and his fellow herders believe it will be a struggle to keep their livestock alive. They blame the conservancies for denying them access to resources that they historically relied upon, a charge the conservancies deny. Until the fight over access is resolved, communities here continue to suffer. Ferdinand Omondi, BBC News, Isiolo, Northern Kenya.
And that is it for today. But just to remind you that if you join us tomorrow, we'll have the latest on the second leg of the US Secretary of State's tour of Africa. He'll be heading to Nigeria, and we will have all the top lines coming out of those meetings tomorrow. Peter will be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, you can get us on social media. I'm at Lakwesa Bura. He is at Okwache. Cheerio.
I see tears falling down your face. I see broken spirits searching for embrace. I hear plenty voices crying out for healing. You wanna tembal pela konik bambelela. In a time like this, you can call me friend, and I'll be there for you right until the end. Lean on me in your time of need. Always remember, you can count on me. Future is in our hands. Let's take a stand for a better tomorrow. We can turn it all around, flatten the curve to the ground for a better tomorrow. We are one people living in harmony. I see that moon, yes, we won. We are family that stand in unity. See that moon, yes, we won. We are. Here's a moment for the ones we've lost. But there will come a day when the sun will shine again and bring a smile on every face. Together we'll win this race. So when you feel hope is gone, just remember it's dark before the dawn. Inguzi sematoleni asugumeni asibambaneni. Let it be known everywhere.
Failure is not an option. We not letting up, we haven't lost yet. Don't attack, we need to back off. Take the foot off the gas for us to take off.
You are watching Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
Asinibingelele babukeli namhlanje nehlelweni ihlelo Young Climber. Awu solo kuyangado tindzaba tekushisa sibathe hayi abalaleli bandlu wafika la nomlangeni ngalenye ilanga wathi bantu abagweme manje awu nani bantu solo babuyela kangako. Namhlanje nansita sengilandzela omunye wakithi hleze ndamva yena njengaloku nje lahlelweni nihlale nilalela abakahlatshwa ukuthi awu hleze makufika wakahlatshwa indawo bese niyeva ukuthi awu qhavela siwayekele manje. Ukhona ke lo munye lesipenzisa ngicela lapha kulo lona lelibandla lelitabulula abantu mase kukhanzakala ukuthi kumbe sebamidile noma kumbe sebathenga lisito etindzabeni temandi. Khona ke namhla labasiniketena umcolisi wakahlatshwayo jaha lelibatabululako baside impela khona utasifundisa sikhulumise ngato tindzaba temandi ukuthi makwendeka mhlawumbe ngase Stephen sakini kunemvubu kunenkwenya kumbe bandlu konke nje utasichasisela ukuthi singabambisana kanjani sisive kunako ukushisa lokungaka njengaloku lomnye basho ukuthi hayi geza thatha nje abantu ufake ebhaveni utithele makushisa manje ke awabeva abantu. Ukhona ke umhayise namhlanje na tabakhulumisayo yona indzaba yekuphepha emandini. Hlala kanye nathi ke mbukeli sakhulumisana naye umcolisi wakahlatshwayo. Cebisa mhlawumbe umuntu akaqala abonge ukuthi ube kanye nathi ehlelweni. Nekuva ke ukuthi ngwadi ukuthi wakhulela le emakhayeni namhla bathi wena sewutabulula abantu emanti nidibana phi nawo wase wafunza phi emanti ngoba ngase edoleni kaNkobe akafundwe emanti wase sewudibana kuphi nawo.
Asibonge mhayise sibonge kuba khona ehlelweni lo Young Climber. Emandi netfu sothatha le ebantwaneni khona leti ngomeni lekweluseni. Kodwa ke la sengwenda khona nyalo sengwenda esigabeni lesithi sengwenda as a professional person. Kusho ukuthi sekubide ukuthi ngihambe ngiwafunze ngiwaqonze bese sengiyakhona ukuwasebenza.
Mhlawumbe nje mina ethi singaka nabi lokusita abantu lamandini kusho ukuthi nemuntu lolizantayi angakhona ukuthwala umuntu longangawe noma ku relative ngemtimba kuthi makumita lo sidudla asithole elijali lingathi liqinile linemamasela makumita lo nqama awu noma niyena into enjani niyabhukana yini lokuthi unganani lele kudzinga siyomsida noma ningena niyahlanganyelana niyena into enjani.
Ngiyabona Mnetfu kufunza ke kwente info le mhlawumbe ngeke uyende na uyibuka ngemehlo ethu ekubuka kodwa ke kufunza bese kwenta ukuthi ukukhona ukukwenda lokhu umcuka kakhulu suke ngile expertise noma ngathini ngilolwadi la kanalo.
Okay.
Angangisida noma ngibona ngathi mncane kunami ngemtimba ngekuthi uyathi ukuthi yini la yoyenda uyathi ukuthi yini lekufuna ayibuke ayigatse kimi ngoba emandini uma ngusida ngikubukile wena kunethi impilo ngitigatsako noma kunethi impilo ngitimonitor la kuwe ukuthi uyakhona yini ukuthi akwende lele ngikusho ngoba ngikusida ngikhuluma nawe. So ngiyakhona ukubona ukuthi ukusida kwami kuphephe kangakanani futhi kunebungoti kangakanani.
Okay. Sicela Mnetfu ngalokuthi umlangeni bekashilo lokuthi uyacela ukuthi bantu bangawalokothe manje abeva ke bantu bakubuyele emandini kanjalo. Mhlambe umuntu angabhuda nje yini info lebanga abantu bamide ngiyathi kusukona ngathi ngombuzo lo phakeme keja ngibudiswa yini sike sabona abantu emandini lamancane hawu umite khona la kontekeni bese sesibuka sathani hayi sathani lona nyoka makhanda inini umitiswa yini umuntu
uqinisile ayise into lemitisa umuntu into levama kulimata umuntu nasemantini kunana labathi kuphenika kwethuka.
Okay.
Ngendeka ukuthi lamandawo asiwo lamanenge kepha ngekuthi lo muntu sewethukile umuntu nasethukile umuntu nasethukile ingcondo yakhe ayikhoni kumtshela into eti right imtshela kulesigaba sethi sewethukile bese kunetinto labengeke atende uma asengakethuki la bese uyatenda lokufaka ekhathi ukuthi kungendeka umuntu emantini ngekuthi sewethukile acabanga ukuthi kuyashona la ame khona angafuni kuma phasi alwele kufuna kuhlamba noma seadiva ukuthi udziniwe ngani la akhona abengema ngetinyawo phasi avele ngeduku kwemandi kunengi kwethuka kufaka ekhathi nawe ukuthi ke akawadi lo muntu lamandi inhlobo nje umuntu nanga wade emanti kunengi la kucabanga lokunye ke hayisewe ukuthi simaswati thine la khaya nje Swati nokhula vele wathi uthe didibene ngetinyoka takhona nabonyoka amakhanda kunani nelicwaningo ngese liyakusho ukuthi thine sivele simnyama ngathi sinenkinga nawubuka indlela yokulimala kwabantu emantini ithi kulama continent lesinawo emhlabeni uAfrica na Asia labahamba embili.
Okay.
Kodwa lo Africa na Asia labahamba embili bese uyamangala usilive lakithi eSwatini lelincane kangaka emave emhlaba la ratewe la 183 ling number 61 lokusho ukuthi manengi lelo ehlulako ngedingoti tasemantini tekulinyalelwa abantu kunemave lelingcono kunawo.
Mina ifathi ngacisha ngashaya tandla ukuthi phasi sik number 61 nathi kukhona la sibehlula khona kanzi phela lana yindlo lembi. Ngifuna kuphinze ngibuyele kancane kulombuzo lothi yini lento lemitisa abantu ukuthi ke wena Mnetfu sinema superstition noma bomithi ukuthi kunenyoka amakhanda Mnetfu bafundisi bakhuluma ngemimoya yemanti uyabona vele ungasisola wena ukuthi sinama superstition keja ke vele ngitsitele mangifika enkonzweni bangitshela ukuthi kunemimoya lamandini imimoya yemanti wena uthi ngimane ngamida nje ukuthi ngiyesaba ukuthi ngiyaphenika awungikhiphe kulomcondo ukuthi ngimidiswa inyoka ngoba kuyendeka umlangeni uke washo la ukuthi lo mnye umuntu umkhanza uyakwadi lokuhlamba kepha somitile namhla sesitekta ukhipha zibanibani inhlambi yalamangweni bekahlamba lo muntu abheke etulantshweze ende yonke lento umite njani akusinjani inyoka lento le inyoka lento
uqinisile mnakethu liqiniso lelikhona lithi yonke into leyendekako icontrolwa ngumoya thide
okay
kodwa ke kulokucontrolwa ngumoya thide esitawuthi lona lelive lenkosi njengoba kusasinebafundisi bashilo unemoya yasemandini lona lelive lenkosi lithi bantu bami bayafa ngenxa yokwesulwa lwati empeleni kahle kahle usuke umbukele ekhaya esule lo lwati lo relevant kulokulasuke akwenda
okay
so ke uma ngabe lo muntu akwadi kuhlamba but sowufikele isigaba sekuthi udziniwe vele emanti seataba inkinga noma seataba ingodi kuyi noma lo muntu uyakwadi kuhlamba kodwa sowufikele kunakule ngitsite wethukile vele emanti seataba ingodi kulowo muntu siswathi ke sithi siyasho ukuthi inhlambi yemuke nemali lokusho ukuthi noma into ungathi uyayadi kunelilanga noma kunesikhathi la khona kuyenteka ikuphice khona bese ke kithi nje sesifunza nasifunza la kusifunza lesi kusebenza ngilo ukuthi angeke kwenteke emantini ngene ngedwa
okay
sizathu lesendaba ukuthi ngingangeni ngedwa emantini lo ukuthi awumati umuntu wethuka nini
okay
awumati umuntu utawutsinwa nini into lethusa abantu akusito tonke la takuhlangana nathi ekhathe emantini lenye kutaba ngumqabango noma ukukhumbula indlu lake ayibona bese lo muntu loyo imlethelo ukuthi so yethu angethuka ke umbukele ekhaya indlu la tayenda naye akasayadi ngiko ke sine nje nasisebenza angisebenzi nangingedwa
okay
ngisebenza nanginalomunye sizathu sithi wendela ukuthi yena ungumlinzi wami nami ngumlinzi wakhe uma seangibona ngathi sengethukile kufuna angithinze bese uyangikhulumisa
okay
wendela ukuthi noma ngabe bengithuswe into lengikhumbulako lengcondo yami idisturb echubeke nekucabanga lento leyo ibuye kulo lesikuko
hey ya vele mnethu uyavuma lokuthi kunemimoya lamandini ngiyakufa mina ukuthi uyasho ukuthi hey vele lana kuyendeka kube nemali etakukhumbuta etinkinga takho takatheni ubone ngathi ubona dipoliana naku mnethu la ekusebenzeni kwenu nekuhlamba ngicela mhlambe kuyibeke eceleni leyo ngikukhumbude indzaba nje ngalokuthi kukhona into esingahle sidikhumbule mfana nzini ngalinye ilanga siyeva lamaphephandzabeni uwela umfula ngathi ibhuti wakhe kuba ne crocodile kanjani ngathi noma usayikhumbula lendzaba umfana lo wawela umfula kwaba ne crocodile ngathi noma yabamba ibhuti wakhe wahamba wayoyilanza ngilanze kuthini nethu kuyendeka njengaloku nje kulihlobo kuqwala emanti khanze kuthe mandi anetilwane le sexual letilwane lestatiyo bo crocodile bo hippo uphepha njani umuntu mhlambe naku ke sewubanjwe icrocodile noma mhlambe kuyavakala ukuthi kune crocodile lapha umuntu uphepha njani mase asesithi nje seyimbambile icrocodile leyo ngoba kwake kwevela vele ukuthi kulomnye wabanjwe icrocodile angaphepha njani nalomunye mangathi naye uthi khanza so la mandini naye crocodile ngqi
uqinisile mina kethu umuntu lo kahle lo ngoba le mifula lesiyisebenzisa konje even lakithi inato tingwenya inawo nemahipho amadam lesinawo umuntu angacala ngokuthi mhlawumbe kulesilwane kuthiwa ingwenya crocodile uphepha